All right, let's go. Let's do it. G'day, guys. Welcome once again to the Tripod, where we break down every single NRL game every week from a betting perspective. This week we'll be looking at round 17. Actually, I'll try and... It's like I'm not on the correct internet. Give me a second. See if this helps. Am I back? If anyone can let me know if they can hear me, that would be great. I've just switched over to a stronger internet connection. Good win last night for New South Wales. For New South Wales fans out there, congratulations, 2 in a row. Must feel good. Obviously, I did say that in the preview pod that I was a Queensland supporter. But we were on New South Wales in game 3. On Queensland in game 1, obviously, on New South Wales in game 2, and on New South Wales again in game 3. So that makes it 9 origins in a row that we've actually been on the right side. Which is pretty impressive because, origin lines are generally quite tight. What you will have noticed is this was a funny sort of origin series where, generally you don't get that much line movement before a game in origin. Generally, the lines are fairly tight and they won't move too much, a day or two up to game time. But game 1, we had a movement from Queensland 2.5 point dogs. That moved 2.5 points into Pickham. Game 2, we had New South Wales at Pickham at $1.90. That's the odds that we got. And then they closed 2.5, 3.5 point favourites. So we were right on the right side of the line move again. And then game 3 as well. Obviously I wanted to give out -5.5, like I said, but I got a bit greedy and took it myself. And then that was gone. But we ended up giving, that line was 6.5. It closed close to 10 in some places, which is a pretty crazy line movement for Origin to move 3.5 points just before kickoff, in the hour or two before kickoff. Nigel asking where the other dude is. Unfortunately, Jacob, you obviously haven't been watching for the last 4 weeks. Jacob's on holidays in Europe at the moment, so he's going to be back in a couple of weeks, and then he'll be back. But we've done all right without him. We've won on 2 Origins while he's been gone, and we've won on 4 weeks of NRL tips in a row whilst he's been gone. So we're looking to make it 5 NRL winning weekends in a row, and let's kick it off. First up, we have the Panthers, -6.5 points, hosting the Titans. 40.5 points is the total. I think that the Panthers, they're on an absolute tear here. I understand that they're still sitting in 10th on the table, but myself and Jacob have both made wagers on the Panthers to win the premiership at $34, $34 odds. Just think that they have a really good, nice run home. We made this bet a few weeks ago. They had the bye, so obviously you get 2 points there. And then they have 3 home games in a row now, starting off with this Titans side, who are pretty average at best. And honestly, I really do think like this Titans side has given up on the season. I have said in previous pods that when you get a shit team, and the Titans are a shit team, and they get the bye, but they had a loss before the bye, a lot of those shit teams will just say, fuck, now our season's over. Sometimes if you're a bad team or on like the cusp of the 8 or a chance of making the 8, and you get a win before your bye week, you go into the bye week with some confidence. You probably have some good training sessions. You probably actually try in your training sessions. But this Titans side just gets walloped the week before bye week. I think they've completely given up. On the flip side, we've got a Panthers side who is still well in contention for the 8. They're sitting in 10th on the ladder. They had a fucking lucky win before their bye week, which I think is absolutely great. You go into the bye week with some renewed confidence. And Maloney's been named to back up. I think that he will play because they need him to play. They're outside the top 8 at the moment, but they need to keep winning these games, and especially games like this against the Titans. So, look, as you can see on the board, I've got no play as of yet. I really wanted to get -5.5. The best I found was like $1.78. So, unfortunately, that doesn't cut the mustard for our tips. But I'm going to have a bit more of a deep dive tomorrow morning, and I certainly will find some plays on the Panthers, unless this line, shoots up to like 8 overnight. I think I will still be making some plays on the Panthers tomorrow. Next up, we've got the Knights hosting the Bulldogs. 6.5 point favourites, the Knights are, and 40.5 is the total. Pierce named to back up, which I think he should do. Although, obviously, he got the win. I don't think he had the best game ever, and he wasn't probably as involved. So, and obviously no niggles to speak of for him. Glasby, Clemmer, and Saifidi all named on the reserves, but I think that they will play. They all backed up fairly well from Origin 3, so I think all those dudes should play. And especially where the Knights are sitting on the table, I think they got to say to themselves, we have to have our full complement. We can't be going into games like this against a shitty Bulldogs team and give ourselves a chance of losing. So I think all those players will back up. It's just going to be a real struggle for this Bulldogs side. Once again, I really struggle to see where the Bulldogs' points are coming from. They've got the makeshift halves pairing in there now with 4 and out. So, I've always been a big believer that this Bulldog side is pretty shit. One thing I don't love about this Knights side is that 3 of the 4 Origin players on that Knights team are from New South Wales, and I hesitate to sometimes take teams that have a lot of Origin players on the winning side, especially in a decider, because you just know that they fucking had a big night on Wednesday night. And, I get that they should have enough time to recover by Friday, but it is only a couple of days. So that's my hesitation there. But I still am taking one best bet on the Knights at the moment. I'm going to take a -5.5. That one's $1.80 on BetEasy. It's just one of those ones where, that's not going to be there come game time for sure. Let's move on. Hang on. There we go. Rabbitohs laying 4 points against Manly. 41.5 is the total. Rabbits at home. Big in for the Rabbitohs. We obviously get Sam Burgess back, but you still are missing, George Burgess, Tom Burgess not there. Alex Johnson's still injured. So we don't have a full complement on this Rabbitohs side. And I always kind of said that, when this Rabbitohs side is fully healthy, I really like them. But they're not quite fully healthy at the moment. Whereas this Manly side is. I think Cherry Evans is going to back up, and so are both Trebojevic brothers. They've all been named, and I think this is a huge game for Manly. And I've said, Manly were pretty shit first half of the season, but they did have a few injuries, and once this Manly side gets fully healthy, which they are for this game, they are going to trouble some teams. So I still think the Rabbits are, not playing their best footy that they were at the start of the season. And Manly's just on the up and up. I think we've got a more desperate Manly side that's sitting, I think 6th or 7th on the table at the moment. And I think we do get a good effort out of them. And I think this line closes under 4. So I'm taking 3 best bets currently. We're going to take Manly plus 4.5 points for the game. You'll find that one in the sports bet pick your own line section. We'll take Manly plus 2.5 points in the first half. That's $1.82 on Bet365. And we'll also take Manly plus 2.5 points in the second half. That one is $1.86 on Sportsbet. Alrighty, moving on to the Broncos, laying 4 points, hosting the Warriors. 41.5 is the total. Wow, if you would have seen this line at the start of the season, there's no way in all hell that you would have thought that the Broncos would be laying 4 points at home at Suncorp against this Warriors side. But that's where we find ourselves at the moment. And I think it's warranted. This Broncos side has been hapless except for, causing the upset last week, which really they shouldn't have won that game. The Sharks let that one slip. You're up 10 points late and you give the game away. And I don't know what's going on with the Sharks there, but you get Milford back for the Broncos. Obviously, that is a boost. You do get Oates. Oates is named. David Fafita's named. And Hengawi are all named. So they should all back up, I think. You've got both teams coming off wins last week. We all know about that Warriors win. That was a roller coaster for sure. And you know what? I actually think that after the absolute debacle that was last week in the calls in the Warriors game, I understand that the Broncos, 8 out of 10 times they win the penalty count at Suncorp Stadium. But I'm telling you what, the refs are I think they're going to have a stern talking to the refs and say, you cannot fuck over the Warriors this badly 2 weeks in a row. So I really do think that any 50-50 call is going to go the Warriors' way, because if there's another diabolical call against the Warriors 2 weeks in a row, where there was 3 already last week, I think that heads are going to fly. So I think the Warriors, surprisingly enough, might get the rub of the green in this Broncos game, and therefore, and also I think that they're the better team coming into this one, to be honest. So I'm happy to take the Warriors at the line here. We'll take 4.5. Warriors plus 4.5. That one's $1.90 on Ladbrokes and Neds. You can get that one on other sites. It's just a little bit lower odds, but that's the best odds in the market at the moment. We'll take the Warriors plus 2.5 points in the first half. That one's $1.82 on Bet365. And we'll take the Warriors plus 2.5 points in the second half. That one is $1.84 on Sportsbet. All right, moving on to the Storm hosting the Sharkies. Storm are 10.5 point favourites. The total is 37.5. Wade Graham is having scans on his hamstring, supposedly. First reports that I read was that he was going to be out for a couple of weeks. But the most recent report that I read was that he's having scans today, and they might know sort of later tonight if he's actually going to play or not. So that's a little bit of a boost, but I figured I'm still taking the Sharkies here, even if Wade Graham doesn't play. You get Fafita back. Gallen's out, which I think is not that big of a loss. I've explained that he's a good leader and everything in the locker room, but he's not much up to scratch anymore. You've got all the Storm reps backing up, or so you think. I really think that this is a game where Craig Bellamy would be smart to rest some of his Origin reps. They are 6 points ahead on the ladder. All right, thanks, Andrew. Confirmed out for 4 weeks. Okay, so that's what I initially suspected, and it doesn't bother me too much. Obviously, I'd rather have him in there, but I still like the Sharkies with the line here, even if Wade Graham is out. I think this is another one of those ones where, Bellamy is probably going to rest a couple dudes here. I understand that, they want to beat the Sharkies, grand final rematch from a few years ago. But they're 6 points clear on the top of the table. You've got guys backing up from Origin. This is the perfect time to give them a rest on a short backup, from Origin. It's perfect time to give these Storm players a rest. So I think that this is one of those ones where you take the Sharkies. If, everyone from the Storm backs up, I think you've still got a decent line that has, higher than 50% chance of winning. And if one or two of the Storm players are out, then you have an absolutely great line. And this line will skyrocket down towards 6. So I do like the Sharkies here. First bet we're taking is, will one team win both halves? No. That's $1.83 on Sportsbet. And then next up, we're taking the Sharkies plus 12.5 points at $1.80 on Bet365 in the pick your own line section. That is definitely not going to be there. I don't even know if that's going to still be there by the time I finish speaking. 365 is usually pretty sharp, but they had Sharks plus 10.5 at $1.97, and obviously had the 12.5 at $1.80. Yes, Daniel. Yeah, like I mentioned, I know all Storm players are listed to play, but like I said, it would be a perfect spot to rest them, really. 6 points ahead on the ladder, just gotten through a grueling Origin 3. I think he'd be smart to rest some of them, and even if he doesn't, I still like the play. Next up, we've got the Roosters minus 10.5 hosting the Cowboys. 40.5 is the total. Don't know what to do with this game. Once Teddy and Boyd Cordner got ruled out, I had an inkling to kind of take the Cowboys, but then obviously Michael Morgan gets injured or concussed in Origin, and it's looking like he's almost 100% not going to play in this one, so I don't really want to take the Cowboys without their best player. Once again, it's one of those ones where, I know I'm probably getting full effort from the Roosters here. They want to shore up at least a top 2 spot on the ladder. They know that they can get it done from there. But on the Cowboys side, they've lost 3 games in a row now. Then they had the bye. And like I said, when you get a pretty shitty team like the Cowboys sitting 13th on the table, you lose 3 games in a row, and then you go into your bye week. I really worry about the mentality. And now you lose, your best player. I really worry about their mentality here. And if they could just come out of the bye, we can just say, this season's over and just fold, especially away to arguably the best team in the comp. So I don't want to touch this one at the moment. And I'd certainly, if I gun to my head, I would probably actually lay the 10.5 with the Roosters, despite Teddy and Boyd Cordner being out. Next up, we got the Tigers plus 2 hosting the Eels. 40.5 is the total. Well, Tigers hosting the Eels, I guess, but it is at Bankwest Stadium, so I would consider that a completely neutral venue. I would almost say that the Eels might even have more fans out there than the Tigers, so I think it might be even a bit of a more of a home field advantage for the Eels, in fact, than the Tigers. And I did think that the Eels are the better team here. I think that they have the more talented roster. I think they have been playing better recently. And you also get the fact where I said, if you get a team like the Eels that are on the bubble of the 8, I think they're 7th at the moment, but they got the win before the bye week. So there's no way that they're going into the bye week thinking, fuck, our season's over, all this sort of shit. They got the win before the bye week. They are going to go into the bye week focused. Now they're sitting 7th on the ladder. On the other hand, Tigers lost last week. They probably had chances to be a bit closer with the Roosters in that one. But I think, I give the Eels probably a 0.5 point, 1 point bump for having the bye. I think they are the better team, and I think they have a slight home field advantage here. So I'm taking the Eels, 3 plays as of now. Taking the Eels straight up, $1.80 on Unibet. All these bets are going to be on Unibet. Going to take the Eels to win the first half, two-way market, that is $1.81. And the Eels to win the second half, that is $1.80 on Unibet as well. All right, moving on to the last game of the round. The Dragons pick 'em hosting the Raiders. 39.5 is the total. Oh man, I really wanted to take the Raiders here as one of those ones where I saw the line sitting at about 2.5. I know some of the boys in the Tripod app already posted up some great plays on the Raiders, like plus 2.5 for the game, Raiders winning at halftime or full time. All these fucking great bets that we for sure would have taken. But yeah, I wanted to see what sort of came out of Origin, if there were any injuries and that kind of thing. And even as I was writing my notes for the pod at like 4:30, Raiders were +2 in a lot of places. And then bam, just a flood of money came for the Raiders. And now it's at Pick'em. And now I don't love it anymore. I would have loved the Raiders at +2. Pick'em, I don't love it quite as much. You've still got Ben Hunt, Frizzell and Paul Vaughan all named in the reserves for the Dragons. But I think that they will all back up. It's a big game for them at home. And none of them copped any injuries that were too serious. For the Raiders side, you do get Nick Kotrick back and Papali named as well to back up from Origin. So that's good news for them. Once again, Raiders off the bye, which I like as well. Whereas the Dragons lost, in a grinding game to the Storm last week. So certainly give the Raiders probably a 0.5 point bump for having the bye there. But yeah, it's just at Pick'em, I don't fucking love it because I know that the Raiders are the better team. They're off the bye. But at Pick'em, this is saying that the Raiders are 2.5 points better than the Dragons. And, I probably think that's right. Whereas at +2, I would have certainly pulled the trigger on the Raiders. So, yeah, it's a tough one for me. I would have loved, some plus money bets on the Raiders, whether it was plus a point, plus half a point first half, second half, but none of them are around anymore. The Raiders have moved into favourites in most spots. So, look, I'll have another look tomorrow, see if anything jumps out. But as of now, if the game stays at Pick'em or Raiders in favouritism, then I think that's probably pretty much right. That's going to wrap it. Pretty quick one this week. 20 minutes. I've been trying to keep them a little bit quicker. Obviously, when Jacob comes back, it's going to go back out towards, 35, 45 minutes. So we'll keep these ones nice and tight for you guys. But that's going to do it for round 17. I will post these up in the app around lunchtime tomorrow, along with any other additional best bets that we do give out, along with, Unibet multis, Bet365 multi, obviously. And all sorts of other multis and late release best bets will be in the Tripod app. Sorry guys, we are working on fixing the notifications in the app. I know that they're not working for tipsters that you're following currently. We're trying to sort out what's going on in there, but you still should be getting push notifications for our tips anyway. Jacob is back in 2 weeks, Nigel. I know, unfortunately you have to be stuck with me for a couple of weeks, but I have won 4 on the trot, so yeah, there's no complaining from you guys. All right, that's going to wrap it, guys. Thanks for tuning in, and I will catch you guys at Sunday night. It's going to be a late one, actually, because the Sunday games, there's 3 of them. Last one starts at 6:10, so I'm probably going to do an 8 p.m. Sunday pod to recap the round. So, all right, guys, have a good one, and hope you all win some money. See ya.